Welcome to Let's Get Real. So we're gonna do something a little bit different this month. This month we are not celebrating, but we are, I guess it's a remembrance,
Yes.
right, of mental health.
Yes.
Right. So because it's Mental Health Month, we're gonna have a series, right, a mental health series. We're gonna have three topics. One is going to be about boundaries. The second one is going to be remediation. And the third one is going to be resilience. Okay. All right. So we want to make sure that you stay tuned. All right. Because there's going to be special series that we're going to put out this month. All right. It could go out at any time. All right.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about this topic. It's very dear to me. And we hope that you really enjoy it. All right.
Thank you. Okay, so first we're gonna give you the definition of boundaries, right? Because not everybody knows what boundaries are, right? So boundaries are defined as little edges or divided lines, physical or conceptual, that separate areas of objects or people. In personal terms, they are guidelines for behavior. Defining safe, respectful, and acceptable ways for others to interact with you, including physical, emotional, and time-related limitations.
Awesome.
You like that top?
I love
that. I love this the definition, because a lot of times, we sit here and we talk about, I want boundaries, like I need boundaries from people. But we don't realize that boundaries comes in different shapes and forms. It's not only boundaries about people respecting you or people giving you or respecting your time, because that's one thing that I'm really big at. So when you think about boundaries, right, what do you think about?
I believe that boundaries is something that when you draw the line, with certain situation and when you're dealing with certain, people, you know what I'm saying? You gotta set your boundaries, and also recognizing your triggers, make sure that you recognize your triggers and make sure that they are aware of those triggers, that they may not cross that line, right? So also keeping in mind that, that you are aware of those triggers and that they are also aware of those triggers, that they might not cross that line, that boundary, And
I think some people are aware of the triggers, right? But they just like to rock the boat or kind of like test the waters, right? Mm-hmm. So we just have to be mindful, that you're gonna have people that are gonna test your waters, but it's up to you, right?
Absolutely.
Conquer that, right? Because it's gonna happen.
Absolutely, because not everybody knows your situation. There's gonna be people that they don't know you, and they might hit that spot that be like, whoa, like this person just like triggered me, but they don't know that. But it's up to you to make it known, and also communicate, your emotions and how you feel, when that person, hit that trigger and cross that line, right?
Of course, yes.
So
we did toast. So we'll do a little toast here.
Awesome.
Let's taste this. This is pretty cool.
Guava sparkling water.
We're not advertising for them.
Cheers.
Not yet. Tastes pretty good.
Very tasty, like this topic.
Yes, very tasty. So, some examples, right? We mentioned before, right? Physical, right? So let's talk about physical, right? So let's give you an idea what physical is about. So setting space constraints, such as saying, I do not like to be touched, or defining personal property limitations, right? So this is the thing. Like you said before, not everybody knows what you're going through. Also, not everybody knows your beliefs, right? So this happened to me, right? When I was in college. I joked, we were joking around in class, and I tapped one of my classmates and he jumped. So he jumped. The reason why he jumped is because of his religious beliefs. He does not, he can't be touched by women, Yes. So we have to be mindful, right? Although that in our culture, it's fine to tap people and to joke around and, also make eye contact in some religions, right, in some cultures, people, if you look at a man, and make eye contact, to them, that's a sexual advance, right? And vice versa. So you have to be very careful and, have that personal space, right? So did you ever had anything like that happen to you where...
No, I mean, I'm aware, I've heard that in certain cultures.
But you had a story, You have the story also that somebody, that was horsing around with you,
Oh,
right?
yes. One of my previous coworkers and my previous employers, he was very, very touchy, like playful and stuff like that, and to me that was like offense, So until, I, spoke up and then I said, listen, you are crossing the line, respect me and, we respect each other, but that's something that is not, this is a place of business and we should keep it professional and we should not be horseplaying like that. So
it is uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable for you to be put in that position, but it's also very uncomfortable to put somebody there, right?
Yeah.
And that could give you anxiety, right? Like I know that I get anxiety, like when I want to tell somebody something, although I'm very outspoken, it does give me anxiety, and this affects your mental health, right? Because now you're going home thinking like, I don't want to offend this coworker. I don't want to tell them off. I don't want to come off the wrong way. I don't want to seem like a troublemaker, but I need to speak up and I need to protect my space, right? My boundaries, right?
Exactly.
And how do you do all of that and still maintain your mental health and know that you're going to be fine the next day? It's tough.
Yes, it is. It is very tough, especially you going to sleep thinking about this. You're not sleeping well now thinking about it. Like you worry about the next day. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen with this person? Or what's going to happen if I say something? Am I going to be looked at as a snitch or something like that? Because I tattletale on this person. But listen, you got to do what's right for you, right? For your mental health. That's very important.
Protect your mental health.
Protect your mental health at all times. That's the most important thing. All right. So
I think the most important thing too is like not going home and not being able to sleep because you have to let that out of your chest, right? I think that's important. So be mindful. Like I always tell people, I'm not gonna go. Don't take it personal, but I don't go home to, I don't think about you. Like you're not that important for me to go home and not be able to sleep because of you. I'm gonna check you on that spot. But even to get to that point to check somebody, it's very uncomfortable. And we have to be mindful that these are topics that you may find uncomfortable to yourself, but they have to happen, these conversations, right? These conversations have to happen in order for you to be mentally good.
Yes, if you don't stop it, it's gonna continue on, and they gotta do it to somebody else. So
exactly,
it is up to you to put your foot down, right?
Yeah,
put your foot down and just put a nail to it. And
I had an example years ago when I used to read meters, and I had a super's helper touch me and touch part of my breast, and I turned him in, and then come to find out, someone...
You still got that address, by the way? No?
No.
Okay. Oh, it's great.
Come to find out that this person, he was harassing someone else, and the person never spoke up. So had the person spoken up, right? She spoken up, it would have never happened to me, right? But of course, I'm not gonna let that happen to someone else, and I spoke up. But does it have to take that for me to do it? Why didn't it happen when he was harassing her? That's my point. You have to speak up. You have to say something, all right? Because this affects not only your mental health, now it's affecting somebody else's mental health.
Yes, if you put a stop to it, it won't happen to the other person. So basically, you're cleaning the way for the other person.
Yeah, you're paving the way.
You're paving the way. That's what I meant.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So emotional, right? So let's talk about emotional, right? So separating your feelings from others, such as not taking responsibility for a partner's emotional or choosing what to share, right? So this is want me to read this again?
Yes, read it again.
Separating your feelings from others, such as not taking responsibility for a partner's emotional or choosing what to share. Whoa. I'll take this one.
Go for it.
So this is near and dear to me, because I have, since we went through our situation with you having a mental breakdown, there were a lot of things that I couldn't share with you. There were a lot of things that I swallowed, that I was like basically like crawling under rocks, because I felt like I couldn't tell you anything. Like I was walking on eggshells all the time, and it's not a good feeling. Like it's not a good feeling. The fact that I couldn't even talk to my husband, it was not a good feeling. So, you're going to go through moments where you have to make that sacrifice, right? Where you're going to have to go through that. There's certain things that you need to choose what to say or not to say, right? And also not to offend, right? You. So I kept a lot of things to myself because I didn't want to offend you. I kept a lot of things about financial, the financial situation that we were in, because I didn't want you to feel anxiety.
Yes, I understand.
I didn't want you, to feel like, but it was hard because I'm protecting you, but then who's protecting me? And then I would go into my bubble, and it was not a good feeling. And that's part of protecting your mental health, that boundary that you need, right?
Yes. So
what do you think?
No, and I apologize for that. I understand. There's a lot of people out there that are just like you. Their spouse or their significant other is going through a mental breakdown, and they don't want to add to that. So I really understand, where you're coming from, and what, to protect me, and for everybody that's out there that's going through that, just have that conversation, right? There's a lot of people like what we went through, are going through it right now, where their significant other is going through a mental breakdown, and it's very difficult, but it's like, you just got to think about it, how you're going to have that conversation, right? Without hurting anybody's feelings, right? Mm-hmm. Tell them how you feel, and what it is that you're going through, and you don't want to, just because you don't want to offend or you don't want to add to the mental health breakdown, right? But you got to also let them know how you feel, and where you're coming from, right? Mm-hmm. You're feeling like you also depressed, mm-hmm. and you got to let them know how you feel as well.
Of course.
Instead of just, holding that in, because it's like a bubble and it's going to burst, at some point. So it's important that you have that conversation, with your spouse, your significant other.
Very important.
Right?
So time and energy. So allocating time for yourself and saying no to excessive demands, like refusing to work on the weekends, right? So you want to take that one?
Refusing to work on the weekend?
Well, so it doesn't have to be that. It says allocating time for yourself, taking time for yourself, and and also refusing to do other. It doesn't have to be work. It could be anything else. Like I could start.
No, I mean that's I understand what you're saying. Like you gotta have that moment where you need your me time, right? Mm-hmm. That's very important for mental health, right? So you also, you want to take the time to go get the massage, right? Like go do your hair, go do your nails or whatever. Go pamper yourself, right? Go for a walk if you need to go alone. Separate yourself from everything, and if that helps your mental health, by all means do that. It's like you gotta find that me time. Barbershop, whatever it is, yes. Go take the car to the car wash.
Like the other day, you were like, I'm not gonna go to the barbershop, I'm just gonna shave it. I'm like, no. Yes. You go. I already went to the beauty parlor that week, and I was like, no, you go. That's your time. That's your me time. Yes. You go and you get yourself, because I want you to look good. I want you to go deliver those packages looking good. Like, why wouldn't I want my husband to look good?
And not only that, it helps with your confidence as well. When you take care of yourself, do what it is that you need to do, so that you could look good and feel good, right? So
exactly.
That's very important for mental health. So yes.
Yes.
I definitely.
So I'm your biggest cheerleader. So I want you to look good. I want you to look professional as well, right? Yeah. So intellectual and material, right? Protecting your ideas and belonging, declining to lend money, or respecting someone's beliefs, right? So that's an example, right? So like intellectual and materials, right? So one is intellectual, right? It's like protecting your ideas and belongings, right? So it's basically like, the way I see it is like protecting our ideas, right? So I have my beliefs, right? And just because I have my beliefs, doesn't mean that I'm gonna have that I'm gonna push that to you, and this vice versa. I don't want anybody coming to me with their beliefs and trying to shove them up, up on me. Like if you have your beliefs, I respect you, but respect my space, respect my boundaries. I believe in certain things, and like I told you the other day, like I'm a big believer in giving to charity. To me is giving to people. People that I know that are struggling, that I feel that I could see where the money is going. That's my belief. Right. Your belief may be something different. Also protecting my money, right? Like you have to set boundaries with people. There's people that really think that. First of all, people think that because I work for Con Ed, I'm a millionaire. Shit, I don't know where they get that from.
They forget money. Just because you work for a good company doesn't mean that you don't have bills.
No, exactly. No. And then the more money you make, the more money you spend, right? That's the way it is, right?
Yes.
And not only that, I have a house that I have, and that I have expenses, right? And if I have like 10 tenants, my tenants are my kids. If I had 10 real tenants, of course I'd be a billionaire, Mm-hmm. But because I decided to help my children, right? Then I'm making those sacrifices, but I'm not a millionaire, and people need to understand that, like, that's part of the boundaries. Like, don't think that because I have this job that I have money, that I'm gonna just throw my money, wherever the wind blows. No, I'm not doing that, and I also am not going to just lend money to everybody. That's not. People don't respect that. They think that you should just be giving your money away. And this is not, like, you have to have those boundaries with people. And also, like, don't count my coins. Like, that's one thing I don't like people doing. Don't count my coins. And if I buy something, don't ask me, like, how much I spent on this. That to me is like, first of all, it's disrespectful. Don't ask me how much money I made. Don't ask me how much money I paid for something.
That's common sense. People shouldn't be asking you, like, how much.
But that's not, common sense is not that common.
So.
But that's the thing. Common sense is not that common. But to me, that's etiquette. That's etiquette. If you are in a social gathering and people are telling each other like how much they make, that to me is tacky. First of all, you don't need to know how much money I make. You don't need to know how much money I spend on things. Like if you want to buy it, go ahead, go buy it. Send you the link. But to me, it's like the fact that people are always checking your pockets and checking this and checking that. That to me is very tacky. I don't know. How do you feel about those boundaries? Like about your beliefs and also about your pockets?
Yeah, that's a personal space. I believe that's a personal space. Like you said, and when you're talking about beliefs, you're talking about part about like religious beliefs, right? Many people have their different opinions on how they do things. Many people, are old school. They go, they believe in tithing and stuff like that, tithing the 10% and stuff like that to the church. But yeah, many people look at it differently. But when Jesus spoke about touching a little bit of religion, you gave me to drink, basically that you gave your neighbor something to drink. You gave him to drink, basically because you did that for your neighbor. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you doing that for other people, giving them to drink and help them get a meal or putting clothes, on their body, you're doing that for them. You're also doing it for Jesus, right? So it's like many people look at it different, what I mean? But at the end of the day, the end goal is doing the right thing for others and doing the right thing for you, and being a good person, right? And being good for your neighbor, right? Because as you do unto them, you do unto God. Mm-hmm. So yeah, everybody has a different point of view when it comes to like.
What about the material, like the monetary things, like let me your car, let me your let me $500, let me this, let me that.
That's something that people should like consider. That's a boundary, right? Like you cannot cross that line. Like what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. And just because, like you said, it's just because you work for a good company doesn't mean that you don't have bills and you don't have responsibilities, right? So yeah, it's like. People have to respect that, and it's common sense. And like you said, a lot of people don't have the common sense to recognize that, right?
No, the common respect, I think it is more, right? The common courtesy of like knowing that this is this is my money. I don't have to tell you how much I make, and I don't have to tell you what I'm doing with my money, right? And I think that goes a long way for you have to have that respect, right? And also the respect of, you know what, you believe in something. If you want to interpret the Bible in your terms, what it means, then you could do that. I interpret it the way I want to interpret it, right? And if we have those boundaries and we respect each other, it's a happy life, right?
Exactly.
That's it. We don't have to battle and go against each other. You go and you know, if your church tells you to do this, then you follow what they tell you to do. I follow what I think is the right way. And that's, to me, that's my belief. And I think those boundaries, once you try to cross them, that's when you should have a problem, because that's when it starts affecting your mental health.
Yes.
You know? So I think that's very important. Professional. A worker leaving at a scheduled time to avoid burnouts, right? So I'm a big believer in, you gotta work hard, right? You work hard, but you also have to have some type of boundary, right? And you have to have those mental days. I'm a big believer in those mental days. When you feel like you're burning out, you gotta take off.
Oh yeah, your body will definitely let you know.
Your body's gonna let you know, or you know what?
I had one of those days the other day. Like that day I came from work and I text you. I was like, I'm going to take a shower and I'm gonna go straight to bed. My body was like, you gotta rest, because if you don't rest, you're gonna shut down. So it's very important that you listen to your body. You know, it's very important for your mental health as well, that you get your sleep in. Especially if you have a hard job, or you know, you're working very hard and it's very physical, you know, and dangerous sometimes, you know, but you have to be on point with your rest time, you know. That's part of mental health. All right, you got to get your sleep in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, you know, in this series of mental health, you know, like we want to capture, you know, what you think about mental health, right? And that, you know, because what we think, it's, you know, it's one side of it, right? But what you think mental health means to you, you know, to me, it means calmness, it means peace, it means, you know, serenity. It means, you know, taking the time to pamper yourself, taking the time to have quiet time for yourself, taking the time, like, to me, this here is my serenity.
This
like,
is a safe haven.
It's my safe haven. Like, yes, you know, and then having my husband be my partner in crime with this is like heaven, you know? This to me is part of my mental health journey, right? To be able to speak, you know, about real life topics and be able to inspire other people. That to me is, you know, taking care of my mental health.
Yes, very, very dear. To me, mental health is something that, you know, a moment of reflection and analyzing yourself, checking in with yourself, you know, see how you feel. Ask yourself how you feel. You know, am I depressed and am I anxious? You know, what's bothering me? You know, and not holding it in and sharing that, you know, with others, and you know, not just like holding it in, you know, but also expressing yourself. Take that moment to check in with yourself and see what it is that you're feeling. You know, take that moment to like quiet the mind and meditate and see where you stand, you know, in your mental health. So taking it, you know, from a person that been through darkness, the worst of the worst, and it's possible to get out of it. It's really, really possible to get out of it. You could do it. Just try to like reach out for help. The help is there. It's available if you need it. And full disclosure, I'm not a mental health, you know, therapist or, you know, a psychiatrist, neither is she. We're just people that experience mental health issues that like anybody else. And we've been through it and we're sharing what helped us, you know.
And let me tell you,
seek the help.
Lord knows that I'm here today because He has a purpose for me. Because I was struggling, battling mental health issues for a long time that nobody knew about, right? Like nobody knew what I was going through because I wasn't speaking to anybody, right? And I would just lock myself up, right, in a room and just cry And for years, right? This has happened for years. This is way before you, before we even met. And I didn't have anybody to talk to. I felt like I was alone. I was battling this alone, and I was also battling at the same time. While I was battling with those demons, I was also battling the fact that I was with someone that didn't understand what mental health means, right? And what to be, why is it important for you to protect someone's mental health, So it's important, all right, that as partners that we protect each other, right? Protect each other, because we don't know what the other one's going through.
Absolutely, 100%. It's like you walk by, you work with so many people, and they smiling and they laughing, but it's that you don't know what they're holding inside. You don't know what they're going through. A smile to a hello or goes a long way for somebody, because you could be making that person, you can be making the day for that person, right? When you're doing something nice for somebody, right? So because you never know what that person is going through. Yeah. Mental health is a serious issue. Mental health is a serious issue. Just be aware of it and be mindful of others, respect one another, because at the end of the day, treat everybody with respect and be kind, right? Be kind towards one another, because everybody's fighting their own battle, right?
Yes, everybody's fighting their own demons.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that you are part of of the positive change, right, that you can be in life, right, in someone's life. It is important that you are that positive change, right, and not be part of the negative, right, and part of what makes them, not well, right? You want to make sure that you are that change. And this is what we're doing this, right? Because we want to make sure that we reach out to enough people, that enough people watch us, enough people get become aware, right? And are not ignorant. I think that's the most important thing, that we are not ignorant to the fact that mental health is not something that discriminates. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where your social status. It doesn't matter how powerful you think you are, how strong you think you are, how much in shape you think you are, how beautiful you think you are, how strong. Nothing. It doesn't matter white, you're black, you're orange, you're purple. It does not discriminate. And once we understand this, we will start appreciating people more. We'll start speaking about it more, and we'll start embracing people even more.
Absolutely. So just keep in mind, Mental Health Awareness Month. You need to reach out to somebody that you haven't reached out in a long time. Check in, just check in and see how they're doing. If you hear that little voice in your head that says, man, I gotta check in on this person, see how they're doing, and stuff like that. You haven't spoken to a friend in a long time. You reach out to them and see how they're doing, right? So just be mindful of that, right? Cool.
Thank you. Until the next section.
Until the next one. Take care, everyone.
Next episode.